What is up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the best Motorola phones for every budget, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first up is a $400 smartphone called the Motorola One Hyper. So I really love this phone. I can't wait to get my hands on it because of the full screen display. So it's a pretty interesting phone. So it's got a 6.5 inch IPS LCD display. It is a 1080p display, 396 for the PPI. The body itself is actually plastic, but it's a very nice looking phone, so I have to give them that. You do have Android 10 right out of the box running the Android One software, so you will be able to get updates in the future. Now you do have the Snapdragon 675 along with the Adreno 612 GPU, so it's pretty much, you know, a mid tier phone spec wise, kind of low to medium gaming on here. So you do have micro SD support up to 1 terabyte and 128 gigs of storage, 4 gigs of RAM. You also have a 64 megapixel wide and an 8 megapixel ultra wide along with 2160p video recording. And you also have a pop-up camera, which is very nice, 32 megapixel wide that shoots in 1080p. You got the headphone jack still on this one, which is awesome. You also have NFC, USB Type-C, and you also have a physical fingerprint scanner. You also have a pretty big 4000 milliamp battery with 45 watt fast charging for the USA, but for the European version it's 27 watts. So if you're a Motorola fan on a budget, the Moto G7 for $239 is still a very good deal, and the price fluctuates all the time. Sometimes you can get it for $200, but this is a very nice phone as well. So you have a glass back on this one, plastic frame. It is splash resistant. You do have a 6.2 inch 1080p display. It is an IPS display, 405 for the PPI, Android 9. This most likely will get Android 10. You do have the Snapdragon 632 Adreno 506, so pretty much a medium mid-tier chip as well. You do have micro SD support up to 1 terabyte, 64 gigs of storage and 4 gigs of RAM. Now this has some pretty respectable cameras as well, a 12 megapixel standard and a 5 megapixel depth sensor. No ultra wide, which is a little sad, but you do have 2160p video recording. So you do have an 8 megapixel camera on here, and this does have the little water drop notch, which I don't mind at all. And you do have the 3.5 millimeter jack. Now this phone comes with NFC, but for the European model only, and you also have USB Type-C as well on here. So you have a pretty respectable 3000 milliamp battery. Motorola software is pretty good at optimizing battery life, and with 15 watt fast charging. So this is overall just a really solid budget option. Next is the Moto Z4 for $500. Now this is the phone that you can add all of the modules to, like if you wanted to add 5G or you wanted to add the projector, you can add little modules to this, which I think is very cool. So let's go over the specs. So you do have a glass back and aluminum frame, very premium hardware. You do actually have an OLED display, which is awesome. The 6.4 inch 1080p 403 for the PPI. This does have Android 9. It should get Android 10, Snapdragon 675 and Adreno 612. Again, kind of a mid-tier chip. You do have micro SD support up to 1 terabyte, plenty of storage at 128 gigs and 4 gigs of RAM. Now you only have one camera, but it is a respectable camera from what I've seen, a 48 megapixel wide. It also shoots in 2160p. 25 megapixel selfie camera. This has the little water drop notch. You also have NFC on board, USB Type-C. You have a built-in fingerprint scanner in the glass, and you also have a 3600 milliamp battery. So very nice. Will get you actually 2 days of battery life with 15 watt fast charging. So you're really buying this phone for all the cool add-ons. You can do a bunch of add-ons, which I really love about this phone. Next is the G7 Play. So this is a phone, if you're on an extreme budget, you can find this for around $100. Links will be down below, and it's still an excellent phone. I did an update review on it not too long ago. So you do have a plastic body. You do have a 5.7 inch IPS display. It is 720p 294 for the PPI. A pretty decent display overall, good colors. You do have Android 9. Now I'm not sure about this getting Android 10. You do have the Snapdragon 632 and the Adreno 506, so I didn't have a problem gaming on here. Game just fine. And you do have micro SD support up to 1 terabyte, 32 gigs of storage, and 2 gigs of RAM. But with this stock Android, this phone did not do a whole bunch of slowing down. Now the downside to this phone is the cameras are kind of mediocre, just a 13 megapixel and a 2160p video recording. So you know, the cameras are decent if you're in really good lighting. 8 megapixel selfie camera that does also have a flash, which is awesome. You do have a 3.5 millimeter jack. This phone does not have NFC, and you do have USB type C actually, so that's very nice. You do have a 3000 milliamp battery with 10-watt fast charging as well, so as you can see, a pretty solid little $100 phone. Now next is the Motorola One Action, coming in at $280, so it's kind of like you know, a mid-ranger. You have a 6.3 inch display, 1080p, 432 for the PPI, has a little punch hole in it. Android 9 with Android 1. This will get Android 10. You have actually the Exynos 9609 processor and the Mali G72, so you will be able to game on here just fine. You do have micro SD support up to 512 gigs and 128 gigs of storage, so plenty of storage along with 4 gigs of RAM. So you do have a triple camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide, a 16 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel depth sensor that shoots in 2160p. Very respectable cameras. You do have a 12 megapixel front facing camera as well. Now you do have a 3.5 millimeter jack on here, which is nice, along with Dolby Audio, which I always love. This phone actually has NFC, which is awesome, USB type C, and you do have the fingerprint scanner on the back, a 3500 milliamp battery with 10-watt fast charging. So overall, this is a nice little phone if you want a Motorola phone with that triple camera setup at this price. Like I said, I love that it has Android 1, pretty respectable chipset as well as battery. Now I do want to throw in some quick honorable mentions. The G7 Power is an awesome phone for battery life, so that's great. And if you want a cheaper version of the Z4, go with the Z3. It's still a very nice phone at a very good price right now. So those are my two honorable mentions, so be sure to check those out in the link down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.